Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It. In today's episode of We Live in a Magical Technicolored World where there is far too much colour, so I'm going to tell you the only 10 paints you'll ever need. Deck. In all seriousness though guys, the new Speedpaint 2.0 range is out, the complete set is available, and there are 90 bloody paints. Now if you are Richie Rich, just go and buy the entire set. Job's done. Thank you for watching. But I actually expect a lot of you out there might just be dipping your toes into Speedpaint for the first time, or perhaps need to be a little bit more careful, or a lot more careful with their expendable income. I'm going to give you my top 10 speed paints. Let's call them my must-buy speed paints. I'm actually going to skip anything that was in the original set, the 1.0, because that was the entire range before. It's the sort of most wanted. In theory, that was all we needed a year ago. So all of those paints are probably the most obvious ones you should get first if you want to build up a collection. I'm going to cover the additional ones, the ones from the new range that I think are a fantastic place to try out. One thing to bear in mind, guys, before you go hating on me in the comments because of all my bland-ass colours that I'm going to tell you to get, is this is very subjective. I'm going to try and give a range of useful paints and things I think you should try, and a good cross-section of the things that the speed paints can do. But obviously, as I've just said, it is subjective. If you're a war boy, you're going to like the greens and the browns to paint up your little army men a little bit more. And if you paint ghosts, you're just going to need white. So that's easy. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Let's start at the bottom with number 10. Familiar pink. The original Speedpaint 1.0 only offered a single pink in the form of Purple Alchemy. And while you could get by with this colour alone, it was very dark, almost purpley pink. I've put Familiar Pink at number 10 because while it is a truer pink, it's a much needed pink. In all honesty, how often do you actually paint with pink? Let me know in the comments the last time you painted pink. But no, seriously, do, because I actually want to paint a lot more with this awesome colour, and I need to find a few more things to paint. Ultimately, if pink is something you want a better choice of, Familiar Pink is going to have you covered.
Sorry we had to hose you there, but you were kind of out of control.
Hey guys, you might remember me from before, Editing Ben here. I've just noticed that several weeks have passed since I started compiling this list, and quite frankly, Familiar Pink is good. But Princess Pink, in these few weeks that have passed, that is the one I've been using a lot more. You can get a lot of similar effects, but there's just some extra ones with Princess Pink with that paler pastel style color. Works well for energy weapons, works well for the subtle highlights and glows on Leviathans, things like that. I think you'll do well with either choice, but I want to change this recommendation to Princess Pink. At number 9, we're going to the complete opposite end of the cuteness ladder to Murder Scene. This was one of the first colours I tested as a prototype in the new 2.0 range, and I loved it from the second I read the name, and then actually just found myself using the colour time and time again. Burgundy was a colour we just didn't have straight out of the bottle before, and I never realised how much I needed this. You use it all the time for clothing, alternative colours for leathers, weapons, wax seals, old blood, wounds, you name it, this paint will get everywhere. This is easily going to be a staple for most painters and definitely a colour you're going to want to have around unless the police ever call by. Number 8. Noble Skin. While I absolutely love the progressive naming on this colour, to be honest, a reason for me to buy and recommend it to you alone, I was however a little bit sceptical that we needed another dark brown. We already had dark wood, a favourite of mine from ye old world, but having had these paints now, this is an absolute warhorse. It's a very unique colour, balancing both brown and black with such finesse. Not only is it an amazing ebony skin colour, but it's a great additional choice in the world of fantasy where you spend your entire life painting Browntown. I've used this on nearly every miniature I've painted from Zombicide since it's arrived. Bags, belts, boots, bonnets, boobs, it does it all. Here at number 7, we have Rigor Mortis. It will be no surprise to find this colour on the list to anyone who's followed along with our involvement in the paint set. We made this for a reason. A pale, beigey, sandy colour was missing full stop, and that needed to be fixed. On top of that, I love painting zombies almost weekly, and some dead skin tones were always missing from 1.0, so this is now corrected. If you found yourself in need of some pale beigey colours in the past, you're going to want to check this little fella out before you get Rigor Mortis. 6. Maize Yellow. When first told about the new Speedpaint 2.0 range, Army Painter asked us if there was anything we wanted to see, and my very first thought was a good, strong, bright yellow. I'm over the moon that this came to life and it now exists for us all to use. I could have got by with Zealot Yellow from the original set, but it always just had that strange orange undertone in the shadows. It was never a true yellow to me. Don't get me wrong, I got by for a year and it was actually just fine. But I always just wished a little bit in the back of my mind for a more pure yellow so I could paint some sweet Imperial Fistas. If you're like me and you've dreamt of Fistas in true yellow, you're going to want to try this one out as well. At number 5, Broadsword Silver. Yep, it's silver, get it. Number 4, Blinding Light. Probably my least favourite of all the paints in the original Mega set was the Holy White. Don't get me wrong, while you could get by, and let's face it, painting white with acrylics paint is so boring it sends me to sleep, the Holy White just never really cut the mustard for me. Being lucky enough to have the contrast version, I always just use that instead, and while being part of this project, this was a colour I knew we wanted to improve, and with that came the creation of Blinding Light, a much lighter, brighter, and closer to white colour, and now finally I don't have to go and dust off my contrast paint when I need to speed my way through painting a little bit of white. In at number 3 is Purple Swarm. Leviathan Purple, need I say more? This time I couldn't even fall back to my contrast range because they all suck too. As I mentioned, this is all subjective, so I don't mean to offend anybody who likes horrible, disgusting and unusable colours. You do you. But this new purple is a welcome addition. I've barely used any of the other alternative options for doing purple since this one's landed because frankly, even when I've needed one, I've just mixed in a little bit this to make it even more yummy because this purple is the sweet spot. In at number 2, we'll revisit the metallics, and this time I'll recommend Hoplite Gold. The metallic speed paints I think are a bold move by the Army Painter, and I hadn't even considered they may be on their way when I was spoiled this information. One thing I had thought about though was how fast I can actually paint miniatures since speed paints had arrived on the planet. That obviously led me to think about how bloody slow painting metallics is compared to the rest, and then look what arrived. Now, having used all 10 of the metallics, it is going to depend on your eyes and what it is that you paint the most, but Hoplite Gold applies like melted butter. It's so smooth, so fast to paint, and such a strong looking gold cover, and on top of that, you're going to get a little bit of shading done for free. And if you want to try out the metallic speed paints, go and grab this gold. It's the best one by a landslide, and it's going to just let you know how you feel about the metallic range just by trying out this one. And at number 1, we have Occultist Cloak. Last but not least, maybe the least interesting and blandest of all the colours I've recommended in this video, but at the end of the day, it's the most needed colours, and this is the colour that I've picked up the most and used over and over and over since it arrived. Yes, it's just black and white mixed together a little bit, but it comes gift wrapped in this sexy little plastic bottle ready to roll. It's a slightly blue-grey and it looks really good in almost any situation. You can use it standalone or right next to black to imply variations in black clothing. You can use it in the same way as Noble Skin for hair, boots, belts, straps, you name it. And you can even use it for spin the bottle. Well, there you go, my little friends. 10 sweet paints for you to go forth and try. If you already have any of these paints, let everyone know in the comments what you think about them and your top 10 list. That's all for today. You've watched it. Now go and buy some paints it.